Hi all, happy Friday. Thanks for joining me for another craft night with friends. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners. And I'm here every weeknight, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together here in the evening. All right, so tonight we are going to finish our embroidery of the month. It is the Cardinal Evergreens. Here is where we're at. We just have a pile of French knots, some French knot berries, French knot sky, and a few little stars to do. So we'll be going over today the 3 things you might be doing wrong with your French knots. So you'll have to let me know if you do any of these things, and we're hoping to get like a perfect French knot today. So thanks again for joining. Let's get stitching. Okay, so here we are. All right, so we have all of these little French knots here to go, and then we have stars and French knots in the sky. So let me zoom you on down here. Okay, so we need to start off. I'm going to get some red, and then I'll show you the 3 things you might be doing wrong with your French knot. I'll show you down here. And I think I'm actually going to, let's draw a few little dots on here. So this is that friction pen, a little close to the edge here. So these will sort of disappear. And I'm kind of drawing lightly here. So let's just add a few dots. So those are like these dots here. All right, well, I'm going to be needing red thread for my berries up here, so let's just get some red set up, and we'll do these French knots with the red. All right, so I'm going to get my 3 strands. Oh, Gretchen says, I've saved my sweet cardinal for last. Oh, man, I would have such a hard time saving him for last. I always have to do, like, the main guys first. That's funny. All right. Zoop. Okay, there's our 3 strands. We might need that other strand, the other half of this yet. We'll see. French knots do kind of take up a lot of thread, a lot of floss. All right. We are ready to go. All right, I'm going to show you how I do a French knot first. I'll walk you through the process, and then I'll show you the 3 things you might be doing wrong and how to correct them. So you'll have to see if any of these issues are something that you deal with making a French knot. I know French knots can be a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to come in to the front here. We'll just go like right here. Okay, so I've drawn these dots on the bottom, so let's just say that this is where like my French knots would be, just like how I have these dots here. I'm going to cut this out eventually. This is just to show you guys. But all right, I'm going to show you how to do a French knot on this one here. So I come up on one side of the dot, not right in the middle, but on one side. Then I hold it with my left hand, just whatever hand is not does not usually have my needle. And I'm going to hold the thread that's coming out of the fabric in my left hand, like a couple inches here, and then I'm going to take my needle and point it towards my fingers. And I'm going to wrap it around twice. So I have a couple loops on my needle there, and then I'm going to hold it with my finger. I'm going to shush the thread just in front of me out of the way there. And now, with my fingers holding down the loops, I'm going to point it towards the fabric. I'm going to put the needle in the other side of that dot, about halfway. And once it's halfway, I can let go. I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to pull those loops so they're against the fabric. And then at that point, I always like putting my thumb on there to just kind of hold the loops in place, and then I can pull the needle the rest of the way. And there we go. So that is my first little perfect little French knot there. So that is how I do French knots. We will go over that again, but I want to go over, like, here are like some of the things that you might be doing wrong. So the first thing you may be doing wrong, so I'm coming up on, I'm going to do everything else right except for the one thing. So I came up on one side of the dot. So now, instead of pointing towards my fingers, I'm going to point towards the fabric. So you might be doing this wrong. You do not want to point towards the fabric for a French knot. So what happens if you do? So I'm pointing towards the fabric, and then I'm going in by my dot. I'm pulling it tight still. Oops, let's try that again. Pulling it tight, and then I'm holding the loops there while I pull through. Oops. I thought I pulled it off of my needle, but I didn't. Okay, so this is from pointing the needle towards the fabric instead of away. And look, all you have is a tiny little stitch. It's not a knot at all. It is just one little baby stitch there. So that's not right. So what we did wrong there was we pointed our needle towards the fabric instead of away. So if you point it away, then do the rest of the process, that's when we get our perfect little knot. So that was pointing the needle towards the fabric. This was pointing it correctly away from the fabric. So that's the first thing you may be doing wrong if you're struggling with your French knots. The second thing you might be doing wrong is coming up right exactly in the middle of your dot instead of on either side. So I like coming on. Coming up on one side of the dot and going back down on the other side of the dot. Because if you come up right in the middle, so I'm going to try and exaggerate this just to make it sure it works. But like if you come up right in the middle of the dot, and you do everything else right, but then you go right in the exact same hole. So this might be what you think you should do, is just going back in the same hole, coming up in the middle and going back down in the middle. But if you do that, then you risk this happening. You might have made a perfect little French knot, but if you pull hard enough, it pops through to the back. And now you have this knot stuck on the back. I am not going to be able to get that out. So that is a big problem, right? That's annoying. So that happened from going up in the middle of the dot and back down in the exact same hole. So you do not want to go back in the exact same hole. So like I said, I like coming on one side. So I like coming on the lower right-hand side of the dot. Then I got these threads here, they're annoying. Okay, then I do everything else. But now, if you see, I'm going to come down, not in the same spot, I'm going to come down on the other side of the dot. So I like going from the lower right-hand side of the dot to the upper left-hand side is usually how I do it. And what that does is now we have a few little pieces of fabric thread in between the thread and the needle there. So that little piece of thread is what's going to hold our knot there. It's not going to be able to go through to the other side. And there we go. I won't be able to pull this through without like super duper damaging the fabric. I would be ripping a whole entire hole into the fabric. So that's unlikely. So that might be the second thing you're doing wrong. And then the third one is letting the loops get away from you. So this might be the third thing you're doing wrong here. So you might be doing everything else right. But, and I'm going to try and exaggerate this again, but at this point, you might not be pulling the threads tight to the fabric. So if you just let this loose like this, if you didn't pull them, and I'm not putting my thumb on them either, and I'm just pulling it through, you might end up with these crazy loopy knots just like this, right? So that is not ideal for a French knot either. So another way, maybe you're doing the part where you're pulling it to the fabric like this. But I like holding those loops in place with my thumb or a finger just so they don't get away from me like what these did. Because if I don't hold them, like let's say I'm just pulling it through like this, and I'm going to just exaggerate it again. Let's say I'm just pulling it through like this. You might still end up with kind of a loose knot. So you can see right here, if I get at the side there, it's like a tiny little loop. It's just a little looser than our nice French knots here. And again, that's just because I didn't hold the loops down in place. So let's do a good one now. Coming on the other side of that dot. So you pull it so it's against, the loops are against the fabric. And then here's that last step that I always like doing. Let's just get my thumb on there. You can see those loops on the side, and then we'll pull through just to make sure those knots aren't going anywhere, or those loops aren't going anywhere. And there we go. So those are the 3 things you may be doing wrong with the French knot. So let me know if you're doing any of these, like if you get some of these loopy guys. All of these are very, very, very common mistakes with the French knot. And it takes practice to do them nicely and stuff too. But if you can tackle those 3 problems, again, they were like this one, if you point the needle towards the fabric instead of away, you'll end up with like just one little stitch. You won't end up with a knot. Or if you go in the same exact hole, like if you come up in the middle of the dot and go back in the exact same hole, you risk pulling the knot to the back. Or if you just let the loops go, if you don't hold them in place, if you don't tighten it against the fabric, you'll end up with some extra loopy knots there. So that is that. Now we can just go ahead and do all of these pretty knots around the rest of this piece here. I think I might just start. I need to cut all this out, but I think I'll do that later. So I'm going to pretend as if I'm starting with a fresh piece of thread here. So I'm going to just weave in the end here 3 times. Get some of these back stitches in here. And then I'll just snip this once I'm ready to get rid of all those dots at the bottom. But I still have some fabric here, or some thread here, so I'm just going to get going at it right away. All right, so coming up on one side of that dot, wrapping around twice, and going down on the other side of that dot, pulling it tight, then holding it in place with my thumb there. There we go, a little French knot. So these bottom dots are all red for the berries, and then these top ones are yellow. So they're like stars in the sky. And I'm gonna run out of this floss real quick here, so we'll definitely have to use a second piece of floss. I'm using my finger here just because my thumb can't reach that far. There we go. Ah, jeez. So it always happens when I have about this much thread left over, I accidentally pull the needle off of the thread. There we go. I love these little berries. So I hope everyone had a lovely Friday. I went for my 4 p.m. walk again, but dang, it is chilly out there, and it's just gonna get colder and colder, I know, so I'm just I don't know, working on getting the perfect bundle of clothing together. I think I'm going to go through the backs of these stitches and then kind of come down just so I can't see the thread behind here from jumping from this one to this one, like I can see it here. So I'm going to just kind of go straight through. All these stitches will hide the thread, and now I just go down to there. So I think oh, did my hubby go with me? Not today, not on the walk today. He was on a phone call still, so nope, it was just me today. I think what's gonna fail me first is the face. Like, that was getting pretty chilly. I do have I have graduated up to my super fuzzy hat, so one of those like Russian like fur looking kind of hats, sort of something like that. Not a real one, but like where it has the floof on the inside and it comes down around your face like mutton chops. I've brought that hat out, and I'm telling you, that is the lifesaver of winter, is that hat. So I've been wearing that, and just having that extra protection on the face is the best. The best. So it wasn't too bad. I actually had to take the hat off towards the end of my walk because I was going really quickly, and I was getting warm, but it was not warm. I got the double pants on, I got like a big winter coat, I have the wool socks and my boots, just everything. Trying to build the habit. If I can start doing that every day in the dead of winter, then I should be able to just do it every day. Alright, I'm definitely not going to have enough thread for these other ones, so I think I might just do, this is my last stitch, and then we'll come back and do these other, 4 with a new piece of floss. French knots do kind of take up a lot of floss. Oh, Sandra. You're so funny. It is addictive. This embroidery, it's just so chill. Like, it just relaxes the brain for a moment. It makes your brain have to focus on something else for a while, so it's just nice. Oh yes, so Darn Tough, that's totally the best. I'm with you, Amy. So Amy says, Alyssa, if you would like a good wool sock, try Darn Tough from Vermont. Best socks ever. I think that is what, are they the Darn Toughs? Yeah, I think that's what my socks are. Actually, I might still have the Smart Wools. I know when those die, I'm gonna get Darn Toughs. Darn Toughs are the ones that you have like a lifetime warranty with too. Like, they'll just replace them, which is awesome. So my brother, who does all the skiing, he recommends the Darn Toughs too, I believe. My husband John has he has some Darn Tough ones, and he wants to get a few more, but I still have some old Smart Wool ones, and if I go skiing sometime, maybe I'll get some Darn Tough ones. But as long as those ones are alive still and kicking, I'm gonna keep those. But definitely, I'm with you on the Darn Toughs for sure. My parents just have tons of them. That's the dealio for winter socks for sure. All right, weave it in 3 times, and we're ready to go. A few more of these puppies. I think we're gonna get done pretty early tonight, you guys. I don't really have anything else planned for tonight. Ooh, we are like wiggly here already. Ooh, I didn't put my yummy smells on. I'll have to do that when we do the yellow. My thread conditioner that's basically makes my embroidery a scented embroidery. Yum. I know the other brand, since, my brother is heavily into the snow industry. The other brand that I know he really likes and wears all the time is the Mons Royale. Mons is snow spelled backwards. Or upside down or something. Yeah, upside down. And backwards. So he has a lot of that stuff. But I still think he does the Darn Tough for the socks. He wears them in summer and everywhere too. He actually runs in his hiking boots and his Darn Tough socks, I think. Alright, this is the last little berry. I think I'll take out all these French knots at the bottom, or our little experiment here, once I finish this one. That was it, right? I don't have any more. Yeah, all these other ones up here are stars, so those are the yellow. And then, I'll trim out our ones from down here before moving on to the stars. Oh, are you baking the famous candy this year? Ooh, that is a good question. So, the candy that Gretchen is referring to, that my grandma always used to have at Christmas, and Mom and I made it a couple of years ago. Oh, Celeste, currently, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Currently Celeste. Yeah, I'll go over them again. I'll put that up as a TikTok as well, if I can get it edited tomorrow. But the 3 things you might be doing wrong with the French knot. Let's just do it again. I have some thread here, and we got time. So the 3 things you might be doing wrong. I mean, we just did a bunch of good ones here, but the 3 things you might be doing wrong, are pointing the needle towards the fabric instead of away. So you want to point your needle away from the fabric. I like thinking about it as pointing it to your hand here. So if you point it towards, so you'll have to let me know if you've gotten this happening before. If you point it towards the needle and you do everything else correctly, you'll end up with just a tiny stitch. It won't be a knot or anything at all. Oh, it's Alyssa. I pronounced it right. Awesome. So you won't wind up with a knot at all. So here's a good French knot. This one just is a little stitch, one tiny little stitch. And that was from pointing the needle towards the fabric instead of away. So this is how I did it wrong. How you do it right is point the needle away from the fabric. So the pointy bits here, I'm pointing it towards my fingers, and then you wrap it around, and then hold it there with your fingers. And then at that point, that's when you point it back to the fabric. So you're pointing it away, and then at this point, you point it towards. And then that's how you get your very nice French knot. So yeah, so that's the difference, pointing towards the fabric and pointing away from the fabric. So that's the first thing you might be doing wrong, is pointing your needle towards the fabric at that part. The second thing you might be doing wrong is coming up like in the middle of your dot, like in the pattern. I'm going to exaggerate this just to make sure that it works. But okay, I'm coming up in the middle of the dot. I don't have a dot drawn here, but imagine if I'm coming up in the middle of the dot. I'm doing my French knot, and I go back in the same hole. So I came up in the middle of the dot, and I'm going back down in the middle of the dot. So if you do that, you may have something that looks like a nice French knot, like right there. But if you pull a little too hard, it can pop to the back of the fabric. So it just popped to the back, and that was because I went in the exact same hole. and it even made like a little hole there, which is not great. So what you want to do instead is have a little bit of the fabric in between. So if my dot is right here, so I come up on one side of the dot, and then I go back down on the other side of the dot. So here you can see that there's quite a bit of space there. So I got like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 little strands of the fabric thread in the middle. So that will keep it from popping through to the back there. Is it away and towards for the left-hand cinchers? So in the dark, I will attempt to do a left-handed French knot here too. It should be just the same, but just mirrored. So it would, I'd be holding the needle in my left hand, and I'd be going towards my right hand. It'll make sense. I'll do one of those when we're done here. So that might be the second thing you're doing wrong, is putting it in the exact same hole. So first thing doing wrong is pointing towards the fabric. You want to point away instead. Second thing wrong is going in the exact same hole. You want to go across your dot instead. And the last thing you might be doing wrong is just letting the loops get away from you. So let's say you loop it around here, and you go in, but like maybe you don't pull the thread towards the needle like I usually do. So let's say I didn't do that, and the other thing I do is I like holding the loops in place with my finger or thumb. Let's say I didn't do any of that. I just did my loop, put it in, and pulled. You are going to end up with some crazy loopy mess like that. And I'm going to do it again the other way I did it. So let's say you do this part right, like so at this point I like pulling the thread towards me, and then it tightens the loops onto, so they're like tight against the fabric. And at this point, what I usually do to do it right is I put my thumb on there or my finger, and then pull, and then that will hold those loops in place. But let's say I didn't do that. Let's say I just started pulling. And I'm going to just affect it a little bit, but just to like exaggerate it. But you might still, so it looks pretty good, but if you look from the side, it's not perfect. Like you have like this extra little loop coming up. It's almost like you tacked down a couple loops. It's not nice and tight like our other good French knots. So here's doing all the things right. I come up, I point my needle away from the fabric towards my hand that's holding the thread. Loop around twice. You can go more than twice, but twice I think is pretty standard. I'm going to hold those loops with my finger onto the needle there, and then at that point I'm going to point my needle towards the fabric. And I'm not going to go in the exact same hole. I'm going to go like a little ways away. And at that point, when my needle's halfway through, I'm going to let go of my loops, and then I'm going to pull them tight towards the fabric. And then here's where I like to hold them in place with my thumb, just so they don't get away from me, and then I can pull the needle the rest of the way through. Like so. And there we go. So those are the 3 things you might be doing wrong. So let me know if you're doing any of those 3. I know a lot of people say that they've done more than those 3, but that's what I've seen as like the typical, very common errors in making a French knot. And all right, I'm going to try and do a left-handed French knot at this time. So in theory, I'd be holding it with my hoop with my right hand. I'd come up. All right, so this is left-handed. So I'm holding this with my left hand, and we're really loopy here. So I'm just going to let my needle dangle here for a little bit. Okay, so left hand. Oh, I always like setting, when I'm doing French knots, I always like setting my piece on a flat surface or my lap, whatever. Or, it's easy if it's in a stand or something, but, if I'm sitting on the couch, I'll just put it in my lap to do the French knots, because it is nice to have the 2 hands. Oh, you're looking forward to this all week. That's awesome. All right, so This might be a little clumsy because I'm not left-handed, but we're going to give it a try. So I have the needle in my left hand now, and then I'm going to pull up with my right hand. So I'm just kind of getting like this 2 inches or so holding the thread that's coming out of the fabric. So then with my left hand, I'm still going to point my needle away from the fabric. So either like straight up away from the fabric or towards that other hand is a good way to think about it. And then wrap it around twice. Put your finger on those loops. And then at this point, I like kind of like swooping this thread down in a way. And then I'm going to go, then at this point is where I point towards the fabric. We'll go right there. Okay, my needle's halfway in, so I'm going to pull on those threads a little bit. And then I'm going to, with my right hand, I'm going to hold those loops in place, and then my left hand will pull the needle through. So there we go. Got ourselves a left-handed knot there. Let me see if I can do that again. All right, so here's left-handed again. It's gonna totally cramp up my hand, but there we go. See, that's a good reason to practice. So I'm pulling the needle out with my left hand, then grabbing it with my right, and we're gonna get our little bit of space there, right? Okay, then pointing the needle towards my right hand, or away from the fabric. Again, we're doing a left-handed French knot. So I'm going to point it towards my right hand and go around through that space between the fabric and my hand there. Around twice. Hold those loops in place. Then I like swooping this down, and then I point the needle towards the fabric. Put the needle in halfway, pull those loops tight, and then stick a finger or your thumb on those loops and pull on through. There we go. So I hope that helped a little bit. That's the left-handed French knot. I should do that with all these stitches at some point. Do left-handed. So it is really the same. You don't really have to change anything except for you do have to mirror the whole thing. So that's what it should look like left-handed. Maybe I'll do that as a TikTok too at some point, just like left-handed and right-handed would be good. Anyway, so there we go. I'm going to move on to do a few more French knots up here, and then we also have these little star babies to do. So I'm going to pick out all of these, because might as well. Then we'll be done when we're done. This is where we wove it in, and now I think just to make it easy, I'm going to snip the backs of all of these. I think that'll do it. But yeah, that's always fun. I always love going over the French knot. I know that's such a tough thing that a lot of people struggle with, including me. So hopefully it helps a little bit. Look at all these little baby knots, all cute. We do have a few of our little marks on here yet, but that guy's not coming out. But those will all wash out, or they'll come out with an iron. I used one of those friction pens. That's our little tiny stitch. There we go. And a couple little bobbers on the back there. All right, fresh. Oh, you're an acrylic painter? That's awesome. I would love to get into painting again. I know some people might remember here. Oh, Sylvette is asking, do you have the red scissors in stock? I absolutely do. We did get a whole shipment of scissors in, so now I have them in. I'm just grabbing them. I have them in all of these pretty colors. So I have the stork kind, and then we also have the straight ones. They're both 4.5 inches, but we have the little straight ones in all the same colors as well. But yeah, I'm kind of digging, like now that I have them, I kind of like matching them to the project. So we could actually do a green one too. Green would match this project. We'll do green for the rest. Actually, we could actually just match the thread. Let's match the thread color. So we're gonna be doing yellow thread next. So let's use the yellow scissors. We had them made specifically to match our thread colors. So this one is on purpose matching. It should match it just perfectly. The bumblebee color here. All right. Get my needle. Okay. And let's see. Well, I think I'm gonna just do them all at the same time. So I'm gonna just start like with a French knot, do another French knot, and then get this little star. And I'm just gonna kind of work from one side to the other. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need another piece of floss. I don't think I have another one. Oh, I have a little scrap of one. Maybe this will get us far enough. Okay, so let's weave in the ends of this little leafy dealio here. I have so many scissors and I love them so much. Oh, you thought that I was matching to the thread color. I am. We worked with a manufacturer to match all of all the colors. So not all the colors. We did, let's see, purple, like pink. I got to think about it like a rainbow. So we got pink, red, orange, and then the yellow. Yep, this is all of them. Green, blue, purple. I literally have to think of them as a rainbow. So this is, the pink matches the petal, and they're labeled like how our embroidery floss colors. So petal, northern cardinal, goldenrod, bumblebee, fresh basil, the denim wash, and the lilac season. And it's the same colors for the hemostats. So we got the hemostats in those colors as well. That's these things. Our little grippies to like grip turning things inside out. So my husband actually used these to pull the cord of his hoodie, like those cords that always come out of the hood. He actually stuck this into the like hole for the cord and like grabbed the cord and pulled it out, and that worked perfectly. But yep, so those came in a couple, or I don't know, maybe just a month ago, maybe not even. Yeah, well, yeah, about a month ago. Yeah, it's been a month. Okay, so I'm going to do more of these French knots. We're back to right-handed though. I do like doing, like I need challenges like that. And actually that brings up another challenge I want to do. So I like the idea of building up certain crafts to be able to do left-handed and right-handed. I mean, a lot of times that can actually help a lot. Like with embroidery, like if I could do this half all with my left hand, then, or like this half or something, then I could still feel the backs of the stitches with my right hand and then do this side with my left hand. Like there's value into being able to do both hands for sure. But I have a friend who has learned to knit like hats, like nice hats, and other stuff, sure, too. But like to just knit with like the smallest little thread without looking at what she's knitting at all. And she practiced it so she could do it, because then she can watch TV and other stuff and have a conversation and all that and be able to look up. So she practiced knitting without having to look, and that's totally something I would love to practice at some point. Just for the sake of being able to do that. So like a little magic trick. So one of these days when I get knitting again, I feel like the only thing I knit these days are washcloths, and I just knit a whole pile of them. So they're in pretty good shape yet, but when those get crappy, then it's time. We're gonna learn how to knit knit without looking at anything. I don't know why, that's just such a silly thing to want to learn how to do. Oh, I like these little stars. So we got little, like, far away speckles of stars, and then our kind of big stars here. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need more floss. But let's keep going. Oh, I got some red fuzzles hiding out. Alright. I'm gonna just jump around all over here. Ooh, I might get away with just that other little bit of thread. So I do have a little bit more, without having to cut a whole new piece, I do have a little bit of the yellow left over from the beak. That I'm like, what else did we do that was yellow? The beak. So I do have some left, but it's not a ton. But it might be enough to do the rest if we run out, and that'd be awesome. Then I don't have to cut a whole new piece. Oh, Nolene says mind memory. Once it's set in your mind, it sticks. Knit a whole heap of washcloths, different colors and patterns, and stitch them together. Ooh, for an Afghan. Ooh. See, that would be fun, like getting like some really nice soft yarn. I should go in my stash. That would be a great stash buster. Just doing a bunch of washcloths, like, you know, just my little washcloth pattern. But yeah, with some just nicer yarn, and then yeah, stitch them together. Stitch them together for an Afghan. That would be nice. It's about time. I've been feeling like, ooh, I need to knit another blanky type thing. Knit and crochet, like those two I haven't done in a while, and I've been itching to do both. I like crochet's been on top of my mind because we've been doing all that tatting. And the tatting, just like these little, you know, these little tatted snowflakes that we've been making, they just remind me of little crocheted doilies, and which I really enjoy making. I don't do anything with them. I just like crocheting them. So they've been making me think of those doilies some more. So yeah, all right. Let's get the other bits. Oh, Alyssa, have you heard anything about TikTok boycott? This is my third and final time to tell. Oh, what's unraveling here on the East Coast? So, is this the? So, just in passing, is this the whole? Like, kids with guns come to school with your guns thing? Like, what the heck? How gross is that? Is that what you're referring to? I haven't heard more than that. And that it was supposed to be like today. Gosh, I haven't looked at the news or anything today. I hope nothing happened. Yeah, that's all I've heard for that. So I'm assuming the boycott has something to do with that. Yeah, it's a communication device in the end. So I think whether it's TikTok or something else, right now TikTok just has a really big reach. Alright, gosh, do I risk? I think I'm going to do one more here. Ugh, no I'm not. I'm going to weave in the ends here, and then we're going to pick up that one. I just don't think I have enough thread for that. Alright, let's get our yellow yellow for the yellow thread. Okay. And let's see if I can get the rest of it with this little piece of yellow. And I think it's going to be pretty close. So let's give it a go. So it's weird. So Kimberly is saying TikTok has no filter standards of right now. They do, but it's varied and hard to know what the heck they're even doing. That's for sure as far as filters. But you know, it's the same as Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of them too. Certain things will get taken off of TikTok, but you never know. But it's the same with Instagram and Facebook too. That's for sure. And again, like how all of these social media work is it's an algorithm that tries to show you what you're looking at. Like Facebook is gonna feed you things that they think you'll click on, and so does Instagram, and so does TikTok. So they all learn based on like your prior viewing things, and that's why all the issues, right? That's why all the like, you know, no one can get their news from Facebook because they just get fed the thing that they're looking for and everything, right? So they just get more of the same. They don't get real news. And with TikTok, they, you know, if you go on and you start looking at embroidery stuff, they're going to send you more embroidery stuff. Oh, yes, I did split. Oh, I did split. Yes, so I did split these already. So I'm just using. I'm using 3 strands of the 6-strand embroidery floss, and I just happen to have these yellow split already from when I did the beak earlier a few days ago. So I already had it sitting around split. So I didn't split it just now, but I already had pieces that were split. So I only did half of this star, and then I went up to do these little French knots because I kind of want to end on this star, this larger star, because then I'll have some stitches to weave the back of my thread into, and we're going to have just enough here, which is great. Yeah, no, Aline, that's the whole problem, right? And I think there's been so what Noeline just said is I hate that, you know, the whole idea of the algorithm like feeding you. I hate that because Facebook and Insta have no idea what I'm thinking. My thought pattern is all over the place, and I like looking at heaps of diverse things. Totally. So in theory, it should still be feeding you those diverse things, and this is actually what TikTok does well. So how TikTok's algorithm works is it does feed you the things that you're looking for. Like I said, for an example, with embroidery, if you do a search for embroidery, you're going to start getting other embroidery stuff. And you're going to start getting other craft stuff. And you're going to get things related to crafting, so like maybe gardening or something like that. However, if you swipe by that quickly, it's going to stop showing you that stuff. But what TikTok does well is that every so often they will just stick something else in your feed. So something that isn't the things that you like, just something else that's popular or something else, because they're testing you. So they're testing you they're testing to see like, hey, here's another random thing. Do you like this thing too? This random thing? So Noeline, TikTok does a better job at that, of feeding you other random things to broaden what you like, basically, and what they'll show you, and which is crazy. And they do it so well. John, my husband's TikTok is 100% different than mine. Like, he has people like pranking people and just all this stuff that I would never want to watch, and he's just like laughing at his TikTok, and I'm like, that's so stupid. So it's, but some of our stuff is the same because there's other things that we like that are the same, but it knows that he also likes that other thing, and I don't, so I don't get it in mine, and except for every so often, but I glide right by it, so it knows to not. They're like, oh, okay, I tried that, she still doesn't like that stuff, so I'm not going to give them anymore. So that's, I gotta weave this in one more time, and I lost my needle. So that's the difference. I don't think Facebook or Instagram does that well at all. So are they just like boycotting? Who's boycotting TikTok on the East Coast? Like parents? Is it a parent thing, or is it like where's the uproar coming from? Is it like schools and parents? I'm just curious. Kimberly. All right. Because I just heard that gun thing, which is crazy. Okay, so there we are, you guys. We finished that guy up quick tonight. And even got to go through those French knots a little bit more. So we are done with him. Let's take it out. I don't know what I'm going to make out of him yet. So we could talk about that next week. So I do want to do some tatting next week when we come back again, just because we have 3 more days before I'm taking off for until January. So, parents and schools after today's nutso stuff. Yeah. I think a lot of that's probably a hair overboard, and whether it's TikTok or something else, the problem is bigger. The problem is bigger than social media, that's for sure. Way, way, way bigger. It's a whole big government, it's a whole, the society that we live in situation more than it is just straight TikTok, I'm thinking. Yeah. Fascinating, though. That's someone's master thesis for sure. Oh, redo the red French knots. Redo the red French knots. Show you how to do another one? Is that what you're saying, Rockin' Robin? I will put a video up of us doing those French knots again. So I'll download this live, and I'll cut it up and add some of the how-tos that we did tonight in there. So all right, you guys, that is that. So yeah, I will be back on I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we'll do some more tatting. I'm not quite sure of what yet, and then I will but I'll let you guys know on Facebook. And so these are all just my marks from before. So I could take those off now. I've turned my iron on. This is with that friction pen, so I'll take those off. But yeah, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday I'll be off. We'll be traveling, and then Monday through Friday the next week I'm also going to be off as well. Oh yeah, for sure, Kimberly. For sure with you on that. All right, so I'm gonna just press this since I got the iron going. We're just gonna press the little ring around it. I could kind of spray it maybe with something that would help, but we'll just see how it does first. So I don't know what I'm making out of this yet. It could be cute for a little zipper pouch. I could do a little Christmassy zipper pouch maybe. Maybe we'll do that next week if I decide to do that with it. We could just frame it in the hoop. That's always fun to do. Yeah, I don't know. If any of you have ideas for what we can make out of this, There we go. Now all my little dots went away. And, there's a little kind of holes where my stitches were, but those will go back together after a little while. So this is working just fine. Giving a little press to the outside here. I'm not going to press the actual stitches because I don't want to flatten my French knots, so I think this will be fine for now. Oh, he's sweet. Oh, a little pillow would be cute. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun too. So I do have some ideas on 2022 projects, but I'm not going to reveal those quite yet. We're still kind of working on those. The journal cover, I would like to do that one for sure. And I do have a quilt in mind, so we'll let you know about that for sure coming up. All right, you guys. So thank you guys so much again for stitching the embroidery of the month, the cardinal with me. Here it is, all done. So fun! Yay! I love doing that here with you guys here. So I'll be back Monday again, and Monday through Wednesday, and then I'll be off till the new year. So we'll have a little bit of fun next week, and then have a little vacation. So awesome. Have a lovely, lovely weekend, and I will see you on Monday, everyone. Good night.